Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes, and thank you for joining me for day number 4 of my 31 Days of Horror. Today's movie is a foreign film from Japan. It's from the year 2001 and it is titled Suicide Club. This was a first time watch for myself. I'd never seen this movie before. I've actually had it in my horror movie collection for a little while now, just never got around to watching it. For some reason, I thought this movie had a longer runtime than what it actually is. It's got a 99-minute runtime. For some reason, I thought it was like 2 hours, 2.5. I don't know why. And also sometimes with foreign movies, not like reading subtitles is that hard, but it's that little bit of extra effort. So I think that's the two reasons why it's sat on my shelf for so long. But this is one that did always intrigue me. It's sort of one that gets brought up in the conversation of disturbing and brutal horror movies and controversial horror movies. So yeah, this is one that did interest me, and I'm happy I finally got around to watching it. So we'll get into the plot for this one before I get into my thoughts. So I think a good place to start is actually with the opening scene for this movie. So we start off at this train station. It's really busy, people rushing around, people coming back from work, leaving school, all that sort of shit. And this group of girls, specifically 54 high school girls, they all join hands, count down from 3, and jump in front of a moving train. And that's how the movie opens. It's specified in the movie that suicides have been becoming more frequent in this city. They make that clear, but these police start to come and investigate, more thoroughly now that this big mass suicide has happened. And that's basically the plot for this movie. They're trying to figure out why suicides are becoming more frequent and what is this suicide club that is apparently a thing. So yeah, that's the plot for this movie, and let's get into my thoughts of 2001's Suicide Club. So with a plot for a movie like I just described, and the whole concept of a suicide club, and as I said, this movie being brought up in conversations for controversial and disturbing horror movies, I sort of had expectations going into this one, and I'm sure you guys would have expectations just off the title alone. I was thinking this movie was going to be like extremely brutal, crazy twists and turns, and my jaw constantly being on the floor. And nah, it wasn't really that at all. And that's not me saying this was a bad movie, or it wasn't shocking at times or anything like that. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. But I don't think it really hit a mark that I had, as I said, as an expectation in my head. I enjoyed the first half of this movie a lot more than the second half. By all means, the second half isn't bad, but the first half is really strong. The first half of this movie has the more shocking moments in it. As I said, the opening scene at the train station. There's a scene at a school that is pretty jarring also. I also really enjoyed the police investigation that was more thorough, I felt, in the first half of this movie. It gets carried over into the second, but the first half where the mystery is just starting to come into light, and it's more intriguing, I felt, in the first half. In the second half of the movie, I felt like it just got a little bit too weird. It was too quirky. Things just started to sort of have this shift to it. It was sort of like a shift of momentum. And as I said, I just much prefer the first half of this movie. The second half, it starts to get into the movie's messages and themes and commentary. And I feel like the commentary didn't really, again, land. It didn't really hit the mark that I felt like it should have. I guess staying on that point of the commentary, it talks about trends and consumption of what you are told and what other people are doing. It throws in a commentary on just suicide in general as well. And I don't think any of the commentary in this movie really hits a mark that, as I said, I feel like it should. And as I said, I don't think it really helps with as I said, this sort of momentum shift that the second half of this movie has. The first half of the movie, as I said, really strong, super impactful scenes, and the mystery is, like, as I said, really intriguing, and it's really high. I feel like, if the message and commentary was pushed a little bit more towards the start of this movie, which I guess would sort of go against the story and, make it a little bit less fluid, it might have worked a little bit better, but as I said, with sort of the momentum shift that the second half of this movie had, I feel like the commentary and the messages sort of got a little bit muddled up. Now, speaking on the twist or the reveal in this movie of what the Suicide Club is and why all these people are committing suicide, I actually guessed the reveal, and it's not to any fault of this movie by all means. I just wanted to bring this up because I actually found it to be pretty funny. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but I guess the twist to this movie, because I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, especially their classic episodes and whatever. And the reveal in this movie is actually very similar to a twist in one of the classic Simpsons episodes. So I'm just going to leave it as, if you know, you know. If you're a big fan of The Simpsons and have seen this movie, maybe you made the connection as well. But I thought that was actually kind of funny. This movie has a very typical look and feel of Asian cinema, especially Asian cinema of this time. Movies like The Ring and all that sort of stuff. It has that sort of look and feel to it somewhat. But it also had a lot of like shaky handheld camera, and it felt like a lot of it was guerrilla filmmaking, just shots picked up on the street and whatever. So I kind of liked that feel to it. It added to the sort of unsettledness of this movie, because it is a pretty unique feeling movie, and I really enjoyed the feel of what, as I said, the guerrilla filmmaking and sort of shaky hand added to it as well. So as I sort of wrap up my thoughts of this movie, I guess that's sort of the last point that I'll add on to. This movie did feel very unique. It felt very individual. I'm sure there are, movies with some kind of plot similar to this. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I did like the vibe and the feel of this movie. As I said, especially in the first half. I was loving the first half of this movie. And, to go on from that, I don't think the second half was bad. I just feel like, in comparison to the first half of this movie, the first half was, like, really super enjoyable. And as I said, it wasn't as shocking as what maybe a lot of people might make it out to be, or just hearing the plot of this movie, what you might expect it to be. But, it still had this unsettling nature about it, and this movie, it had a really cool feel and vibe about it. There is a musical number in the second half of this movie, which sort of came out of nowhere, and I'm just laughing about it, thinking about it now. It was very, like, Rocky Horror in nature. If you've seen the musical number in this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know what else to say about this movie. I'm not sure if this movie really had a lead. You sort of get introduced to one character and you're like, okay, this is our lead. And then there's this one character that I would probably say is our lead. We follow him for majority of the movie, but then it turns into this chick, and I'm not sure if this movie had a lead. That's not really a major concern to me by any means. I guess I'll just sum up this review now. To give The Suicide Club a rating out of 10, I was thinking a 6.5, like, really close to a 7, but I'm going to commit to a 7. I think a 7 is definitely what this movie's deserving of. As I said, I think it was just really unique. Really enjoyed the first half of this movie. It sort of lost momentum as it went, but still a enjoyable watch, and I thought this movie was pretty interesting. So a 7 out of 10 for 2001's Suicide Club, and I'll leave it there. I can't say how many times in this review I almost said the Suicide Squad. I don't know, it just rolls off the tongue more, and obviously the Suicide Squad is a more well-known franchise, so that many times I almost said it in this review. But thank you for joining me, guys. Hopefully, so far, I know we're only at day 4, but you guys are enjoying the 31 Days of Horror. And I'll see you tomorrow for day number 5. Thanks, guys.